Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. 24 hours from now, we will all be going to the polls in your respective states, in your respective areas, and you'll be casting the ballots. And I'm hoping that all of you, I'm hoping for an American Revolution. I'm hoping for an American Revolution at the polls. I'm hoping for a turnaround. I'm hoping that a lot of the deep staters, a lot of these career politicians who are scumbags get voted out of office. That is my hope and prayer. And I'm hoping for that, Siege. I'm hoping for that. So we shall see what happens. In the meantime, check us out, Real Rogue News at Twitter, at Real Rogue News on Twitter, and roguenews.com, roguenews.com, as well as Rogue News on every single podcasting app known to humanity. And check out our paid sponsors, mycbdedibles.com, where you get your CBD fix. Get all the health benefits of CBD in the most delicious packages ever. Go to mycbdedibles.com for delicious treats that have been infused by CBD isolates. So check it out. Also, folks, check out the Crypto School, okay, over at thecryptoschool.io. You can check out the Watch Us Trade Room. And our new site, I think, is going to be live, so we're going to be switching the link. So this way you'll see the new and improved Watch Us Trade site. And also check out remaincalm.net. Don't freak out, remain calm. And with that being said, Siege, what's crack like, brother?
Hey, good morning, V. Good morning to our listeners. I hope everyone had a great weekend. And so, I mean, if you've been asleep under the rug for about the last 2 days, you know that the elections are tomorrow. And interesting things. Last night I jumped into the first episode of the final season of House of Cards. That snuck up on me. I didn't even realize it was coming out.
Oh, it came out already?
Yeah, it came out last Thursday or Friday, and so I watched the first. I always go back. It was decent. I always go back to the last.
I like the first few seasons.
Yeah, I always go back to the previous season, the most recent. Watch the last show so I can remember where it was, and then go from there. But it's just, I don't know. It's just interesting, different perspective. I mean, if you plugged in V 24/7, or you stay attuned as much time and effort that we have to do with staying up on events and everything, it gets tiring, man. You gotta have something to get away from things, whether it's comedy or UFC. You gotta have something, but you gotta have something.
Yeah. My something last night was the death of Rick Grimes over at The Walking Dead. I've been watching The Walking Dead, and the last few seasons have been painfully slow, dull, and dumb.
The show. He was young, right? Wasn't he young?
No, he's like, dude, he didn't die for real, bro. He died on the show.
Oh,
the character, man. Jesus Christ, Siege. Wow.
All these people are dying nowadays, the good die young.
But anyway, they killed off a major character. Total divergence off the comic book series, which I love the comic book series. It's fantastic. So that's about it, dude. I mean, the UFC fight, Dan Cormier and Derek Lewis, I didn't even bother watching it. That was just so one-sided. It was a waste of time to even watch it. And so we are here on this sleepy Monday. It's raining cats and dogs outside. It's gloomy. It's depressing.
You know what I am tired. You know what I am tired of, V?
Well, what are you tired of, man?
And Sean reported on this as well, but I'm gonna bring up another page real quick for our listeners, for everyone to see. But like, even when we launched today's video, even before we went live, it was demonetized off the platform, off of YouTube.
What?
And
really?
Yeah, it's happening now. Like, as soon as we put the show title in, anything with Harley, with the series report, it's demonetized even before we go live.
What's our show title today that made us demonetized?
They're just doing it now. They're just doing it for everyone. And if our listeners take a look, this is what we deal with. I mean, you can take a look.
And I love, even though we're demonetized, they'll still play ads on our app.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Look at this, and then Watch Us Trade. What's so offensive about Watch Us Trade live, and it's demonetized? And granted, we can request a review, but for our listeners to see this, look at this. This is what we deal with. Look at all this. This is what we deal with. So this one page of our shows, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shows. And yes, we can request a review, but it's just a pain in the ass to have to babysit it, to worry about that. Don't put a word in the title that's offensive, like Syria, like the country Syria is offensive to anyone. But if we name it anything like that, and I'm just so over, YouTube and this platform of having to, to baby step around to make these controllers happy. It's a bunch of bullshit, B. Just over it.
Yeah, it is. It is. It truly, truly is. But have no fear. Solutions are on the way, and they are near.
Oh, I didn't even bring
We'll keep that under wraps for now.
Yeah.
We'll keep that under wraps. Maybe release it right after the election.
I didn't have the right screen. Oh, no, I just didn't have the right screen up to show everyone. I had a different screen. I had but I don't know if I won't do it here. So, but anyway, I promise you I had it up, but you just couldn't see it. But anyway, yeah. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, to see, it sounds like there's some heat, some tight races closing up. The battleground states, it looks like all of, Hollywood and the social elite are out campaigning, going door to door, Oprah and Jimmy Kimmel. And, and already there's some reports of election fraud.
Oh yeah, already there is. I mean, we have right now from the great state of Georgia, who last year the Attorney General of Georgia was asking the Department of Homeland Security under the Barack Obama administration, aka Barry Soetoro, why were you guys trying to hack into our firewalls during the election? Why were you guys trying to do that? And we never knew what became of that, CJ. But here's the thing. 2 days before the November 6th midterm elections, Georgia Secretary of State and Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Kemp revealed on Sunday that his office is opening an investigation into Georgia Democratic Party on allegations that it attempted to hack the state's voting system, including allegations of possible cybercrimes. Kemp, whose office announced the investigation in a Sunday morning news release, didn't reveal any details of the probe, which comes on the heels of a court victory by Democrats who successfully challenged the state's attempt to deregister 50,000 voters under the state's exact match voter ID law. While we cannot comment on the specifics of the ongoing investigation, I can confirm that the Democratic Party of Georgia is under investigation for possible cyber crimes. Kemp Press Secretary Candace Brochi said in the release, both the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have been alerted. This is huge. Again, this is a big thing, and it if true, which I suspect, if I'm a betting man, CJ, I'm going to say that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it is very much true, most likely, and I'll say that it does not surprise me to the levels of desperation that the Democratic Party engages in. The far left nut jobs who have a literal philosophy of the Democrats, if you would speak, is the end justifies the means. They are willing to play dirty while we are not. They're willing to do whatever it means. And if it means, setting the entire country on fire and burning it to the ground so that they may take power, they are willing to do that. That is a line. You see, there are lines, Siege, that we do not cross as conservatives, as libertarians. We do not cross those lines. Those lines are sacred. They are the very last lines that keep us as a civil society.
Right.
But the other side of the camp, if you will, the other side has no problem, has no issue to cross those lines repeatedly crossing those lines and justifying their actions, so to speak. It is the same reason why you have leaders, rather than saying, hey, you know what? Why don't we just calm down the rhetoric? Why don't we just say that, hey, Trump is the president? And this goes to show, folks, that how much of a threat this president is and this administration is to the status quo at some levels. I don't know exactly what those levels are, but at some levels, this man is a threat because he is being resisted. You've never seen at any point in human history, in American history, excuse me, where a president has won office and for 2 years straight, the opposing oppositional party and its media apparatchiks have been on a relentless assault on the man's character, his policies, his personhood. I have never in my life have seen such a thing, and neither have any of you. Never. To this vitriolic extent, never to this level have we seen anything like this, nor shall we ever. And the question is, why? Why is this election? Why is this president? Why is this administration such a threat to the status quo. And I truly believe, folks, that the status quo, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, many, not all, but many, and I do mean many of their plans, their plots, their profits are threatened by this individual and his administration being in office, which is all the more reason why we need to go out there and vote. All the more reason why even their leaders are saying there's no reason for us to be civil until we take back power. That is what Hillary Clinton has said. So if you want to talk about a veritable fifth column that is absolutely operating within this nation, folks, you need to look no further than the talking heads who are vociferously out there speaking and spewing hate, discord, and division with nary a challenge brought against them. Complete freedom to do so. It's disturbing, my man. It's disturbing. I think, and I'm hoping that tomorrow, November the 6th, the American public will send an absolute message to the deep state. And that's what I got to say.
Yeah,
see, that's my opening monologue right there.
Absolutely, man. You nailed it. I completely agree. I mean, I don't think, V, you have to look any further than the state of California to see some of the draconian style of government that they envisioned across the United States, right? You know, everything ranging from the taxation to the forced vaccination,
exactly,
to, I mean, so many different policies, and that's truly the direction that they wanted the United States to go, and that's truly the direction they wanted. You know, unneeded homeless people living on the streets of the United States, you know, dumping on the streets like they do in San Francisco, and just yeah, you nailed it. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely, without a doubt, man, without a doubt. Siege, we have the real Game of Thrones being played out in the desert. What say you about this? I don't know. I can't call it crazy. I can't call it ridiculous. I guess I can call it this nexus that is holding the U.S. and the Saudis in a very, very strange relational orbit. Man, what do you think?
I think this was what makes it so difficult as far as being a Trump backer. I only want to use the word Trump. Maybe, you know, freedom, you know, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the era that we were wanting the U.S. to go in, and that's the direction of not necessarily isolation but versus these needless wars that keep spreading. And unfortunately, time after time, it appears that the Saudis are tied to a lot of this. And this is an article that comes to us from Strategic Culture. It's titled "The Untouchable U.S.-Saudi Relation is a Core Element of U.S. Imperialism." In the last few weeks, numerous articles and analysis have been produced related to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. However, the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States has not been questioned. And the reason for that is not yet to be explained. And it just kind of basically gives a history of Nixon and the formation of the petrodollar and how that's specifically tied in. And if you fast forward to currently history, you take a look at the events unfolding in Yemen and the human tragedy that's happening there. And it always calls into question, you know, what is that bond? What is holding us so tied to the Saudi kingdom? And what changes are trying to be played out here with the removal of MBS? Is MBS a good guy, and he's trying to bring back or to scale down the events in Yemen, and the deep state's not happy about that? Gosh, it's such a tough reading, V. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it.
You know, it is a convoluted, multi-layered chess game that's being played out in the House of Saud. There's a lot of players: Salman, MBS. You have Abdel Ben Aziz Ben Nayef. You have Merkin, who's another one. We have a veritable Game of Thrones, being played out in front of us. And what it does mean is this: somewhere in the middle, CJ. I think that negotiations are being done right now stating that, hey, listen, we know this whole thing is coming apart, but can you allow us to hold the petrodollar standard just for a little bit longer? Just for a little bit longer. And I think right now we are on the reaches of systemic failure in many facets of our economy. And I think we're at the very ends of systemic failure. And I think right now what it is there's a delay. I mean, again, we've had October come and go, and there is no arrest. There's nothing. What is happening? What is all this talk about re-innovating Guantanamo? What is all this talk about reactivating Rex 84? What is all this talk about the executive orders that have been passed to get a hold of human traffickers, to abscond them from their assets and their property, and using the loopholes that many of the globalists have put up there against them? What is all these takes? What's all happening? There is a game being played, folks. There is a game. I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. Only those that are playing the game can tell 100% what is going on. But we are not even reading another person's mail here. We're trying to decipher letters that are inside of a mailbox, and we can only draw deductions from events that we see happening. And what we see happening are global events, and these global events are the symptomatic reaction, a reflex reaction to what we are seeing. And we can say that it is no conspiracy theory. It is a reality. It is an agenda. And that is, we are seeing global de-dollarization, CJ. Global de-dollarization. The dollar is being killed, and we're trying to figure out exactly how long that would be.
Yeah, absolutely. V, there's
last but
something
not
else.
least, CJ.
Oh,
what's up?
No, I just wanted your thoughts on something, because apparently Q's back to posting again.
Oh, he is. Oh,
I don't know exactly what was said, but I just got really to thinking about this, and please feel free to disagree with me 100%. I just value your opinion so much, but this entire thing, it has nothing to do with jealousy or anything of that Q. And please don't say that I'm a libtard or I'm a Democrat, because I see sometimes those in the post are like, but to me, V, when I look at this, and this is something, a message we continuously hear, is this, where we go one, we all go. Mm-hmm. And, I have to disagree with that. And what I mean by that is that, Donald Trump has surrounded himself with a lot of questionable figures, a lot of neocons. And we see somewhat the rhetoric being raised up against China as the aggressor, and China and all these things. And is it going to lead to next the Russia, and I'm sorry, but if the neocons that surround this administration lead us to another escalation, an unneeded war, the most dangerous thing you can do is where we go one, we all go. We have to be able to intelligently understand these things and not allow manipulation of our mind to break from our core principles, our core beliefs, that war is wrong, just for the sake of following an individual down a certain path. And we witnessed that with George W. Bush when he built such a strong consensus when the towers came down, and his approval rating shot through the roof, and he went to war. But I'm sorry, I just think that's a dangerous philosophy, a dangerous principle, to believe that where we go one, we all go. I think we have to individually. That's no different than what the Democrats do with building a collective society, that they all have to agree on anything. And we've seen it many times when people do question that narrative, they get slammed down. But I just thought about that over this weekend. I'm like, that I just don't agree with that. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base there.
You're talking about the where we go one, we go all?
Yeah.
Well, the origin of that, right?
No, where?
That's JFK on his boat. He had a little sailboat, and the mast on the boat had a flag, and on that flag was written "Where we go one, we go all." So that's a saying from JFK. And there are certain people that are in the intelligence operations. Like, here's the thing on Q. Okay, here's the thing on Q. Do I 100% say that QAnon is unequivocally 1,000% bullshit and a total waste of time? And it could be. It could very well be. But there's also another thing, is like, is there really an operation to take out some of these globalist bad guys? And when you look outside of the QAnon phenomenon, you look outside of that. You look at, guys like my friend W, okay, who I've known for years, and he is the genuine real McCoy's the real. He's the real deal. And when W says, yeah, there's an operation like this, unequivocally, and I know some of the people that he knows, like a handful of people that he knows that are in position of power that he's friends with, and he's introduced their names to me, and I was like, holy crap, you're what? You really? You're on a what? You're on a speed dial with this guy? Yeah, that kind of level. And when people like that confirm, yeah, there is an operation. And then when I have guys on the West Coast, I have a buddy of mine who is very well connected to a lot of special operations guys, a lot of Navy SEAL guys. And when my friend asked and broached them about this whole QAnon thing, just forgetting about the character, forgetting about who QAnon is, and not forgetting about what he's saying, but just the concept. I'm not talking about what is said and what the posts are, and but the concept of, quote, is there a fight between nationalists and globalists within government? Is there a fight between, but some would categorize as good guys versus bad guys? Is there a fight between those who want to see America rise again to preeminence with a fair and equitable trade, without a military that's out of control, without all this craziness, without an empirical slant, or an empire type like slant? And the answer unequivocally amongst all these people who are connected to intelligentsia, the overwhelming answer is yes. But that doesn't mean that the actual individual of QAnon is real. But whatever the QAnon operation is, whatever it is, if it's a bunch of guys in a basement, which very, very well could be, or is it an intelligence operation? Very well could be. Or is it both? Is it both an intelligence operation and a bunch of guys sitting in their mother's basement? It can be both. Who knows? But what is happening is it's causing a type of mass conscious awakening. It is causing some sort of I wouldn't call it mass hysteria, but I would call it a conscious affinity. Okay, we have an affinity. AFFINI, whatever, affinity, right? I'm not going to spell this one. It's Monday. I'm too tired. So anyway, we have a conscious affinity, meaning a likeness, a drawing together of one to another of a like mind. And that affinity that this phenomenon is causing us is to rally around not the person of Trump so much, okay, but the very ideals of what he's standing for, okay? And that is the whole entire thing. Whether Trump is removed from power or not is irrelevant at this point, because the genie is out of the bottle. The genie is out of the bottle. You see, 10 years ago, you couldn't talk about globalism. You're going to talk about that, hey, there are people here that have gamed the system, that they're screwing the American the American worker. They are relegating and gutting American industry. They are extracting American wealth. You couldn't talk about any of those things. People looked at you. There was the people were asleep. They were beaten down. If you weren't beaten down and bludgeoned, you were asleep at the wheel. You didn't care because you were worried about how are you going to keep your job. Because let's be honest, we just came out of a slaughter of a jobless market, right? We were, facing the ridiculous, how am I going to afford my insurance? All these other things that people were dealing with, they didn't have time to. And now, psychologically, behind any intelligence operation, when you study warfare, when you study how psychological warfare and intelligence operations are very important, you would understand the value of making people feel good is the most powerful thing. Making them feel that they can rally around a person or a symbol or an ideal. Because then if you have them rally around an ideal, if the person is killed, it doesn't matter. When the symbol has been destroyed, it doesn't matter. But the idea, when an idea has come, whose time has come, when an idea whose time has come is more powerful than any standing army on planet Earth. And I think that's where we are in America. And folks, you got to understand, you got to believe what I'm saying here. We are past the point of individual. We are past the point of symbolism. We are right now in the cusp. We are in it right now, folks. We're not even at the cusp. We are in it. We are in the time in whose idea has come that is much more powerful than any standing army. It is the most dangerous dangerous thing that could happen. And I think this is exactly the reason why Zbigniew Brzezinski, the technocrat of technocrats, the very postulate, the very apostle of technocracy, the one who was connected to the Bilderbergers, the one who's connected to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, Zbigniew Brzezinski, the last thing he said publicly before he died is that we've lost control. If I were to paraphrase him, we've lost control. Why? Because a dangerous idea to the globalists has arrived, and that is nationalism. That is the genie, whether it's QAnon, a kid in his basement who's creating this, or if it's an intelligence operation, or if it's both. There is no doubt that the concepts and the ideas that have been put out is overwhelmingly catching fire in the minds of men in America. It is overwhelmingly catching fire in the hearts and minds of men and women in America. There's no doubt about that. Now, we can argue about how the sausage is made. Okay, we can argue about how the sausage is made. Is it real? Is it not real? What's good in it? Who's doing it? But you cannot argue with the results. And the results, my friend, you have a lot of meat. You have a lot of truth. You have a lot of ideas and ideals that have been encased in a casing of truth that is being served to you on a daily basis, where the first time in a long time we are hearing such words as the media is fake. First time in a long time you have platforms, alternative media platforms that are right now more vibrant than ever before. We are winning the idea war on the internet. We are winning it in cyberspace. We're winning it in the old media. We're crushing them. We're seeing the death of the old guard. And I don't think any of those things were possible prior to Donald Trump coming into the presidency. I don't think a resurgence of Americana. Now, you might say we're all being manipulated. You might say that this is all to some sort of a grandiose strategy. But a grandiose strategy of what? See, folks, you got to understand. See, global politics winds up in two things. It only winds up two ways. And the way it's been running, I'm going to tell and explain to you very clearly. Whatever happens in the world, whatever happens in global politics, it only winds up in two ways. You're either marching towards vertical integration and globalism, or you are marching away from it to nationalism and decentralization, which is not globalist control. There's only two ways you can go. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You cannot have it both ways. Do you understand, folks? You're either going to get globalism, one world government, one world religion, one world antichrist, one world whatever. Or you're going to have a decentralized world with decentralized nations and the rise of nationalism and the rise of patriotism and nations decentralized in various trade zones in mutually beneficial and agreeable trade that is happening with an understanding of fair and equitable trade and currency, and without any of the shenanigans of central banking. And one worldview is complete anathema to the other. In other words, they are two worldviews in which they cannot coexist. Do you get it? You cannot have one and then transition into the other. It's either or, folks. It's either or at this point. And this is why nationalism, whether it's in the United States, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in Brazil, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in Sweden, whether it's in Spain, whether it's in Portugal, whether it's in Greece, whether in the far reaches of the Western world, folks, nationalism is a dangerous, dangerous threat to the machinery of globalism. The point being made, folks, is there is a move that has begun, and we are all witnessing this being played out right in front of our eyes. And that's what I got to say, Siege.
Excellent. Well said, V. Absolutely. We, just for our audience know, we did move London Paul to Wednesday. He needed to reschedule. So we will be back. And then V, will the trade room be on later on today?
I think, let me check with the guys. I think they might be on tomorrow.
Okay.
Check. Yep.
Cool.
And with that being said, El Cuco, take it away, my man. Take it away, CJ.